Hello and welcome. This is Business Incorporated coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. Nigeria's central bank inaugurates the new board of Skybank PLC. New management meets with capital market operators. A latest report from Exotics Partners shows 2016 is likely the most challenging year for Nigerian consumer companies. Plus, Mozambique sees 2016 economic growth slowing to 4.5% from initial forecasts of 7%. The European Central Bank is concerned about negative impacts on the Eurozone brought up by the UK voting to leave the European Union. Our minutes from the meeting of the ECB on June 2 shows that the slack environment and companies in Eurozone continuously deleveraging have been hindering the economic growth. The vote for Brexit could generate, although difficult to anticipate, significant negative spillovers to the euro area via a number of channels, including trade and the financial markets. Meanwhile, the European Commission began formal disciplinary procedures against Spain and Portugal on Thursday for their excessive deficits in 2014 and 2015, which may lead to fines for the two countries before the end of July. Both had deficits greater than the European Union's limit of 3% of gross domestic product in the past 2 years and failed to correct the deficits quickly enough. The two countries now risk fines and the suspension of EU funds if they cannot show the rules were breached because of exceptional economic circumstances.
Any fine for...
Lately, Spain and Portugal have veered off track in the correction of their excessive deficits and have not met their budgetary targets. The Commission concluded that Portugal did not correct its excessive deficit by the deadline of 2015 and that Spain is off track to correct it by the 2016 deadline. For various reasons, the windfall from higher growth and lower interest rates were not insufficiently used to reduce deficits and debt. Reducing those high deficit and debt levels is a precondition for sustainable economic recovery and growth for both countries. Therefore, we have adopted recommendations for Council decisions under Article 126(8) of the Treaty concerning the absence of effective action by Spain and Portugal. This is a necessary legal step to give both countries new deadlines for the correction of their excessive deficits, with updated fiscal adjustment paths to be specified.
Oh, there's a lot to chew from the markets this weekend as the G20 trade ministers meet in Shanghai. Now, let's cross over to Frankfurt to know how the market is wrapping up the week. Conrad Bulson, DWTV Channel's TV financial correspondent, joins me now. Good afternoon, Conrad. Germany must be sad today after its football team lost a semi-final of the Euro Championship against France. How sad are you? And I hope that's not part of what is driving markets today, or is it?
Well, Jimmy, I have to tell you, I have only stopped weeping a couple of minutes ago, and just because I had to get presentable for our show. It's really, really sad. But what I can also tell you, being sad about football is much less painful than being sad or concerned about the economy, because here in Germany we will know that even after yesterday's defeat there will be a next game eventually, and I'm sure that the German team will win again. While in terms of the economy, it's really not sure whether the concerns will go away soon. Today it was reported that German exports declined in May, from April to May, and they declined by 1.8%, which is stronger than what analysts had predicted. Most analysts even had predicted an increase, and this data shows that even before the Brexit referendum, something in the German economy definitely has slowed down. Now, the stock market here in Germany today, as you can see right behind me, check it out, check the graph of the German DAX, is on the upside, and this has mainly to do with very strong labor market data from the United States. During the month of June, 287,000 new jobs were created in the US, and that is significantly more than what analysts had forecast, and is sign for a continuous and relatively strong recovery of the US economy.
Well, Conrad, I'm happy to know that DAX is not as sad as you are, concerning the loss of Germany yesterday, the football match. Well, the G20 trade ministers will meet in Shanghai this weekend. What's being expected from them?
Well, of course, Jimmy, the trade ministers are going to talk a lot about the implications after the Brexit referendum. What they also are going to talk about is China and the overcapacities in the Chinese steel sector, especially in a move probably to muffle those concerns against China. The Chinese government or the authority which is in charge of the state-owned steelmakers and coal producers in China announced a 10% cut of production during the next 2 years, and it announced that steel production capacity will be cut by 100 to 150% during the next 3 to 5 years. Whether this announcement will be enough really to muffle the discussion in Shanghai, of course, remains to be seen.
Now, is there something in particular the G20 ministers could decide on that could encourage confidence amongst investors?
Absolutely. They could do something, they could say something in terms of free trade in order to, boost confidence or recreate some confidence on the markets. Or to be more precise, they could extend the moratorium on creating new trade barriers. In 2013, the G20 decided not to allow trade barriers for another 3 years, and this standstill agreement would, of course, after 3 years come to an end by the end of this year. If the trade ministers and consequently the heads of government will decide to extend this ban on trade barriers, this would be a strong sign pro-trade, and that's exceptionally important this year after the Brexit referendum, where there's also talk about new trade agreements that have to be struck. And also remember, in the United States, the presidential nominee, Donald Trump, keeps talking about trade agreements that he wants to slash. So the G20 trade ministers could really make a strong statement pro-trade here.
Well, Conrad, we will keep a tab on that meeting this weekend. Thank you very much for your time, and do enjoy your weekend. Conrad Busen, DWTV, Channels TV, financial correspondent, reporting there from Frankfurt Stock Exchange. We'll move over to Asia. Japanese stocks ended lower as investors took a cautious approach ahead of the latest U.S. jobs figures. The unemployment figures due out later are seen as one of the main factors affecting the timing of any rate rise by the U.S. Federal Reserve. The benchmark Nikkei 225 index fell 1.11%, while the Topix index lost 1.3%. Other Asian markets also fell on Friday. In South Korea, the benchmark Kospi index ended 0.6% weaker. Hong Kong's Hang Seng index finished 0.7% lower, while the Shanghai Composite closed down 1%. Australia's ASX 200 edged up 0.05%. While Australian experts say the UK's decision in leaving the European Union will strengthen Australia's economic ties to the UK, however, they maintain it will have some initial uncertainties. Well, we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, CBN inaugurates the new board of Sky Bank PLC. Details in a moment.